Hey, driver of that wretched-looking lorry there. How would you fancy a drive with this beautiful lady and her companion?
Hello, people. I'd like to welcome back any previous watchers of the videos before or the new ones just finding this channel. Right now, I'm about to go over a very diverse character in terms of her fighting strategies, in my opinion. New Testament 18. Let's look at this volume. She's mentioned a little bit, and first off, by name, she's as meaningful or greater than the likes of I was. This inherently hints to her status being comparable or outright better, meaning this can translate to stats. So at the end of New Testament 18, she's already equal or higher than I was overall. New Testament 19. Immediately after killing Alistair's main body, Alistair intentionally avoided facing Coronzon head on and seems to be focused on buying time to imply he can't hurt her. One thing worth noting is Coronzon isn't very resistant like any other normal human body. Mina also doubts she can even beat Coronzon, and the narrator says that Mina is fated for destruction to indicate that Coronzon will be able to catch her in raw speed and kill her. One other pretty good ability is that her mere roars by pure voice can suck out a person's life force. Later on, it's stated Coronzon is a transcendental being and I was is a comparison. During this fight, by the way, she's able to be unaffected by low oxygen levels that makes a person be damaged internally. Coronzon was able to clash with I was as well, when she herself was nerfed due to the nature of her magic working with the elements on Earth. Plus, I was himself, he was regaining his original power, or you can say getting boosted than his usual strength while in space. During the fight between a nerfed Coronzon and I was who's boosted, the narrator says it's hard to determine who's more incredible to show they're comparable in these states. Something else to add is this damn demon is able to fight and later on speaking in an area of no oxygen or air and gravity. Hmm. At the end of the day, Nerf's Coronzon was able to grab onto I was who's boosted by the neck and she broke it. Now to a very pretty good durability feat of Coronzon was being unharmed and laughing at the center of an explosion that destroyed Academy City and most importantly, the Windowless building. Academy City being destroyed can be calculated however you want because the destruction of the Windowless building is something not even Accelerator using his quote strongest attack wasn't even able to put a dent in it. In conclusion of New Testament 19, Coronzon is just better than I was and Mina overall, but possibly being unstoppable to Alistair. And lastly, surviving the explosion that destroyed the windowless building with many hacks and resistances shown here, which isn't the end of this. Now, New Testament 20. Coronzon was stated by Index to be unstoppable, and this is the same Index that knows how to create levels of destruction on Althanus' levels with Lavinia alone. But here, she has access to, Alistair, the person that mastered magic. Coronzon has also been stated to be a higher life form opposite to I was by Alistair, making them comparable. Last feat for New Testament 20 is her body was not crushed and later on looks to be uninjured after having the force of all of Academy City sealing her by Alistair's foot being said to be heavy as an asteroid. In conclusion, for New Testament 20, she is clearly a being who is probably compared to the likes of Althanus and how dangerous she is, and is a higher life form like I was plus has, you can say, lifting strength to not be crushed under an asteroid. Now on to New Testament 21. This is where it gets a little interesting. Annie, a member of the Golden Dawn, a long time member, you could say, thinks if she got control over Coronzon, then she would be able to beat the likes of Matters. And later on again, Coronzon is said to have equal or even greater power than I was. Her and I was are considered higher beings together compared to the likes of Golden Dawn. That's something interesting. When crashing down, she is able to erase the likes of the Idabra castle just by flying down and slamming down on the ground, absolutely erasing it. Coronzon is said to hold more power than I was again. You're going to get used to that. And most importantly, Coronzon has something else as well. She has a knife. And at the end of that volume, she has tank a punch from the likes of Toma. Now that's impressive. You got to be honest with that. Now, conclusions for New Testament 21. She upscales the likes of Matters and I was while having, plus the destructive capability to erase the likes of the Edinburgh Castle, which is huge if you look it up, and holds a knife and taking a punch from Toma. Now, on to the New Testament 22. This is a big volume where at the start, Coronzon's magic flaming sword is able to bypass certain hacks which rely on reacting to the supernatural or magical. This can be useful against wannabe Tomas, for examples. Both Misaka and Misaki were completely stopped by pure fear from Coronzon, who's just merely standing there. So that's potentially a fear hack. While off guard, Coronzon tanked an attack from Accelerator, and this attack shook the earth, and she came out practically unharmed. Using her long hair, she used her bundle strands of hair to skillfully redirect the vector of attacks from Accelerator, which were invisible too. It was said to be invisible. And once taking a physical attack, like if you hit her, Coronzon has an effect on if you touch her, then you'll get a mysterious feeling in your body. And this leads to incapacitating those who touched her. Oftenest after seeing both Matters and Coronzon, thinks that Coronzon is just a greater threat. And this is where stuff gets very interesting. Nang Nang, a nerf magic god, with a fear hacks is unable to affect Coronzon. Now onto some real power scaling. Coronzon can clash, so keeping up with and meet the expectations of nerf magic god Nang Nang to give her a fun fight when going all out. Once both Coronzon and Nang Nang hit each other, it turned into an explosion, but Coronzon comes out unharmed. Coronzon uses magic that not even Matters can do, and is stronger due to being called ultimate magic. The pure elements from Coronzon can erase attacks on nerfed Nang Nang's level. This type of pure elemental magic is compared to the likes of Archangel Gabrielle, and is said to be even greater in purity alone, with properties like negation, since it was compared to even the Imagine Breaker. And you can say this as well, knowledge wise, Coronzon undermines or thinks she is better than those who mastered magic, like Nang Nang. During her fight with Nang Nang, she was not trying to win and only wanted Hamazur to escape. And the last bit of the battle is Coronzon surviving getting hit by Nerf Nanang physically. Like she got hit. And she came out bleeding, but still impressive. Moving on from the fight, Coronzon Hair was shown holding up a ship which is said to be 150,000 tons. She has pretty good endurance, with many wounds potentially being internal and still acting pretty nonchalant while talking. Her main source of power with magic is from up and down the tree of Sephiroth. Now to some pretty big stuff. Both Index and Alternus determined that divine mixtures, maybe even Nerf's True Gremlin, the Cortana, and Alistair can't defeat Coronzon because she has magic to counter or keep herself from getting killed by them. She's considered an absolute evil of a being. Alistair even concedes with Lilith being the only person to beat Coronzon there. And keep in mind, Alistair has, that big bang. And back then, during 1909, this is a little fun fact, Coronzon overwhelmed Alistair, and Alistair agrees. He pretty much says it himself. Now to the finals. Keep in mind that both Alistan, or Alistair, and Mina were amplified by the Queen Bariatina, or however you say it, okay? In terms of raw power, she is compared to Archangel Michael and has enough power to power up the Queen Bariatina by herself. Now, this ship, right, has a temple which is strong enough to need an attack on the level of Alternus's world-destroying attack to break it. Another thing to keep in mind is during the last bit of New Testament 22, she was being weighed down by calculations in her head when fighting and essentially was being weakened. Coronzon, while weakened, is able to easily keep up with and not be tagged at all by Alistair, who has been even more boosted because of his Black Sacrifice spell due to the ship's nature. Plus, she seems confident in killing Mina with a single blow of her pure elemental spells. Coronzon, after facing, this boosted Alistair and boosted Mina, thinks that they cannot even hurt her or even as a threat at all. Now for Coronzon's ultimate attack being Magic Flaming Sword. It is said to match Althanus's Gungnir attack, which destroyed the world in its phases. You know this. And this ultimate attack would naturally turn into physical matter, which is natural, which would coincide with what I said at the beginning of the New Testament 22 portion, where ability, which acts like, the Imagine Breaker, it won't be able to negate the Flaming Sword because it actually turns into natural matter. Magic Flaming Sword has enough power to be able to split the temple in half. Another thing to remember is Alistair nerfed Coronzon, who was busy controlling the recoil of her many spells, which made her massively even more weakened. Yet still, when weakened this badly, she resisted and came out unharmed after being forced between the damn phases by Alistair. She has a resistance or cannot be harmed by attacks based off of the Aeon of Horus. No, Aeon of Osiris being like heaven or something related to Christianity, those type of magic. The last feat is she tanked a hit from Fish Eggs by Toma that split the temple in two. In conclusion, Coronzon is very freaking weak. Hope you enjoyed the video. And one last fact Did you know that Coronzon can make herself a boy?